welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4, got to get the power down early. You need to get in the bunch. There's going to be a big draft effect. Who can hang on to the riders ripping it up at the front? And it's 11.6 kilometres at 20k though. Already motoring towards that halfway point for Category 4. That gap though between them and the leaders of Category 3 has come right down. Paolo Cusimano, the leader coming in and through of his category, is right up there with Michael Suarez. So the Category 3 rider making the cash. We're at 33.8k at the moment for Gibbons. He's the man leading Category 1. He's got a couple of seconds back. Currently sitting at 4.5, but can he make this stick? Cusimano, who's still leading at the front, he's at 41.3k. He's continuing to hold that lead. He's on the right-hand side of your screen. The left-hand side of your screen is the big chasing bunch. It descends, and then it rises again. It's going to be a first place, first rider over the line. Daniel Valencia comes through. So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's Qualifier Race number 2 in April. It's April the 9th. Time flies when you're having fun. My name's Matt Payne. I'm going to be bringing you all of the action in the men's race. And I'm going to be joined at the start of the race by Emma Martin. Emma joining us here in the studio, and great to have Emma back in with us. You're going to be leaving partway through, as we've done throughout Ramadan, to go over to studio number 2 and start off the women's race, where I'll be joining you later. But I know you've watched back some of the race action. It's been absolutely cracking, and we've got another great course, but slightly different to last week.
I know, I had to catch up on the end of the men's race last week after the women's race had finished, but it's great to be here today for the start of the men's race again, and we head to a great course today. So 45 kilometres in distance and 997 metres of climbing for the men today, and a haute category climb at the end of the course today. It is a pretty rolling course, but 15.23 kilometres that final climb, with an average gradient of 5.5%, and it is a constant climb, a really long one, and I think it will sort the racing out today.
I think it will indeed. And of course, along the way, we have our 7 segments of varying lengths. Each of those segments an individual time trial, and it is the fastest time through that segment that counts, rather than where the riders are in the race overall at that position. And we'll be bringing you updates on the way through there. Now, it does look relatively flat on the way to the start of that final climb, but there are some key trigger points coming in. Our riders will hit those and gradually get closer together if the timings are right. Our riders ready to go. Well, first riders away will be Category 4, followed by 3, 2 and 1. You can see the time to go for our riders on the top of the gantry there underneath the MyWhoosh logo. And the first riders will be off. They're the riders in red. They are our Category 4 riders. A really packed field and some great racing here in this race field. And great to see that we've got the Red Furies and the Global team back again, and good sized field again.
Yeah, so alongside these two teams, we've got 14 riders on the start sheets today. Agudelo, Acevedo, Kaluma, Suarez, Finati, Ramos, all on the start line, and I think going to give us a good race today.
I'm sure they will. It's been some great action in the race. We're into the countdown, and away we go. So the riders away in Category 4. The first of the riders hitting the course on qualifier number 2 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. And the riders away are moving smoothly here, but one rider already just squeezing on the front here, and it looks like Ramos wants to get that start moving pretty quickly here. Doesn't want to get left behind at the early stages, Emma.
No, and it's really interesting, isn't it? Some riders are very happy to roll away from the start, whereas others want to push really hard. And Ramos at the moment putting out 3.9 watts per kilo. He really wants to get momentum going, and for this pack to move quickly and not sit on their laurels as they are away from the start pens now.
Indeed, you can just see top right-hand side of your screen. For those of you who've not joined us before, not ridden on MyWhoosh, top right-hand side is that sat-nav view. It gives us the riders, the indications of their position. You can see that solo dot off the front. That's Ramos being chased by the bunch. You can see the green arrow below. That is the position relative to the profile line that runs across from left to right. You can see the progress of the riders on the course, 0.6k of the 45-kilometer race route. Below that, you can see the riders that we're watching. The rider we're watching highlighted in purple. When it goes red around them, those are the riders who are pushing into the red zone. Yellow is that stage before, so sitting in between, so pushing, but maybe not on full power. Top left-hand side of the screen is the individual riders' numbers. So the watts, the revs, the heart rate, the distance they've covered, the time they've been racing, and the speed that they're traveling at. So those are the key pieces of information that not just you watching, but also our riders will be using it. And that is a key part of the esports process. But at the moment, looks like we've already got that action kicking off with that kick from the start by Ramos at the moment.
Yeah, and he's not abated on that push off the start line. So Ramos still leading this group, but the pack now coming in behind him. And you can see in that shot, they're not far behind. It's just 3 seconds at the moment back to the leaders of that group, and slowly coming down, I think. I think this group are all going to be back together very, very shortly.
Indeed, you can see a lot of our regular names who feature strongly in the racing. People like Dario Finati in there. We've got Neftali Bernot in there, Joy Kaluma in the pack as well. Verlander really are a real regular mix of riders in there, and great to see that they come back week in, week out. And the men's finals, which was on the Jebel Hafid with a big long climb at the finish. Suarez was the rider who took the victory in the finals from Kaluma and Acevedo. So it'd be interesting to see if he can repeat that feat, and just who is going to be able to push clear at the front of the race, who is going to be able to take away the top prizes, because as with all of our races on the Sunday Race Club, top 5 riders in each category getting some great prizes.
Yeah, indeed. And it was Acevedo who came across the line first last week. Now, last week's results are not verified. So Acevedo currently in that first place in category 4, followed by Suarez, Cadabono, Ramos, and Kamesh. And it's going to be interesting to see, once verification has taken place and been finalised, whether those results still stand.
Indeed. So category 4 underway, just approaching 2 kilometers covered. There's 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes on the clock now for category 3. In fact, heading into that 1.5 minute marker when the riders will be doing those final checks, maybe just tightening the ratchets on the shoes, tightening up the bows, making sure that they're all ready for this kick off the line, and then starting to accelerate up and through. And category 3 have their work out, don't they? They are chasing category 4, and category 4 don't hang around.
No, they don't at all. And category 4, well, they are the first riders at the start pen, and being first on the road in the race and staying out there for as long as possible is absolutely key for them.
So our category 3 riders are lined up and ready to go. Great to see that these riders are still battling it out. And at the moment, no teams forming for the qualifiers, although I'm sure that will change when we come into the finals. But another field, and much bigger than category 4.
Yeah, so 28 riders on the start sheets today in category number 3. No teams, but some really noticeable individuals. So Phillips is in here, Duke is in here, Eckersley, as well as Cusimano and others. So yet again, a good, strong category 3 field. And the question is, can they stay out on this particular course for as long as possible?
Well, it's going to be It's going to be for us to see, to be confirmed, who's going to take the top spot as they go through. Let's see who is going to go clear. Category 3 underway in qualifier race number 2. Emma, these riders now know what they've got in front of them. They know the time gap to the riders in front, and although there's no prizes for catching them, we know that these riders are competitive. You wouldn't be in the race otherwise.
No, you wouldn't indeed. So category number 4 have a 5-minute head start on category number 3 as standard. Then we have a 10-minute gap to category 2 and then a 5-minute gap to category 1. So this category 3 group charging out of the start pen today, heading towards the back of that category 4 pack, and it's going to be interesting to see if or when they make that catch today, and if or when they stay clear of our category 2 and our category 1 riders. Now, this particular course today, Matt, with the 15-kilometre climb at the end, I think this is a course where we are going to see a category 1 rider come over the finish line first.
And that's not what happened last week. If you were watching the rewinds earlier, if you've watched back the video on demand, don't forget you can get all of the races for the past year in the English commentary on YouTube with myself, Matt Payne, and joined from about I think from about September by Emma. Then you can catch up with all of the action, see who does what on what climb, and really interesting because when we were back on this climb, it was Andre Duke who was in the lead as they came over the line. He took the win in the finals on that big long climb. But last week, it wasn't quite the same. We saw riders go clear. And in fact, category 1 didn't make the catch last week, did they?
Well, no, but while they didn't, today I think it's going to be a different story because the absolute power that those category 1 riders are going to see them move through category 2, category 3 and the category 4 pack towards the end of this race today.
So you can see all 4 categories on your screen at the moment. Category 1, top left-hand side. Category 2, top right-hand side. Category 3, bottom left-hand side. And category 4, bottom right-hand side. You can see the relative distances. Category 1 and 2, of course, on 0 distance. The riders furthest up the road, it is category 4, fast approaching 4K for the leaders. And Finati joining Ramos on the front, making the connection there. And Dario Finati, one of those riders that we mentioned at the start, because he is one of those real aggressive riders, always guaranteed to really put in a great performance. And of course, once you've got that gap, then you've made the gap, you've made the distance. The rest of the riders have to work. Even if you ease off and you just take a rest back, it has its benefits.
Yeah, Finati finishing 5th in the March final. So Finati on form at the moment and closing that gap to Ramos. Now a 2-man breakaway in that category 4 race. And you know, they've now got 12 seconds. I think this is a good gap so early on. They're not even 5 kilometres distance ridden now in this race. And that first 5K, Matt, is quite flat today. Then we move into sort of a bit of a more rolling landscape, but nothing particular until we get to about 23 kilometres on this course today.
Yep, there's one sort of dip, rise and drop again, isn't there, on the way through to that point that's of any significance. And it does mean that having the pack moving fast is probably the only way you're going to wear anybody out in the groups. You're not going to be able to do it particularly by using a trigger point to attack on a climb because there just isn't that height gain. But it more than makes up for it once we get in towards the later stages. From that 23 point, I think it's about 23.5K into the course, we've got that sort of the little bump before. I say little, be a big enough climb for me, but then we've got the big climb after it.
Well, we say a little climb or a big climb. There's only 150 metres of climbing today on this course until we get to the final climb where that checkered flag is at the top. So not a huge amount of climbing until we get to the foothills.
You can see with the first of those dips, we did say that there was a little drop and a rise coming in after about 5K. You can just see the riders at the moment approaching it. Top right-hand side of your right-hand screen, you can see the dip on the profile coming up, that little drop down, and then a riser again. And it doesn't look steep, and it isn't steep, but every little bit counts here, and particularly if you're on your limit. And because these categories are so competitive and are getting more competitive as time goes by, it's going to test out the riders as we move, though, along. It's still looking good for our 2 breakaways, Emma.
It is indeed. So those 2 breakaway riders still out now and round the bend, out of sight of this category 4 bunch. And you talk about the competitiveness of these race fields, Matt. So throughout March, in the category 4 race, 9 different riders finished in the top 5. In category 3, it was even more competitive. These blue jersey riders, 13 different riders took a top 5 spot in March.
And Add into that when you've got riders like the Dadsons in there, Mark Dadson in there, always going to be on the attack, a really aggressive rider. You've got other riders who are going to be kicking away. We've got some riders moving down through the categories as well and joining them because, of course, as the riders get checked out, as they get verified, then we get to know more about the riders. Then they move into the most appropriate category for them, and that's going to continue all the way through. And that's one of the great things because of all those verification, because of the AI checks as well as the human intelligence that's used to check out what the riders are doing. And that is why we see this now. Right hand side of the screen, you just see more and more riders up at the front of the race. Really has split here. We're just in with Cadabono, and it looks like 2 has become 4, and at the moment it is going to be without the rest of the pack, but it's not going to be long. You can see they are trying to close down very fast, and it's this dip down now and then the rise back up again where you're going to see that little bit of action. They're heading down into the dip. Still a little way to go for category 3 on the left hand side of your screen, but remember, they've got time. There's still plenty of course here, 45 kilometers to travel, and that means that the category 3 riders haven't even done 10% of the course yet. There's a depressing thought for you if you're racing.
That's it, isn't it? And our category 4 riders, I think that group is literally about all to come back together again, because you can see on the top right hand corner of that category 4 screen, that long train is now coming all together and forming one large blob of riders. And you know, fair play to our 2 riders who have been out, Ramos and Finati. Those 2 riders have been out for about 6 kilometers now off at the start line and given themselves some great airtime.
And just watching the riders on the screens go through. Speaking of airtime, we're going to get some time on the screens for category 3. They've just smashed the time. It was a 1:43, the fastest time set by the category 4 riders on segment number 1. The fastest time coming from Cusimano, who came in and through second in our finals on the finals in March. But he's got the fastest time through segment 1 of 1:35. And if the form book works, which is a big if, then the riders will go through increasingly quicker as time goes by. So 4 will set the benchmark, then 3 will beat that, and then 2 will beat that new time, and eventually 1 will set the fastest time. If that is the case, then it's all kind of worked right. However, this is bike racing, and if you watch any kind of bike racing, you will know that anything can pretty much happen, whether it's the cross, the mountain bike, or of course on esports, because riders can A, blow up, B, they can have tech issues, C, they can go too hard too soon, not put enough effort in at the right time, misjudge their tactics, or of course just come up against a better rider on a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything can happen. And particularly through these segments, because they are discrete segments and they are absolutely timed to that 1 kilometre or to the 2.5 kilometre, which is our second segment distance today. We regularly see in the racing fast, hard racing early on in the race from category 4 and category 3 to stay clear. And sometimes category 1 not coming through to the fastest segment until maybe number 4 or number 5.
So categories 4 and 3 away. They're already well through those segments we've just been talking about. Our next riders will be category 2. We've got some strong teams who have battled this out, but this week we're going to be seeing those teams diminish somewhat, but not the size of the race field. Category 2, I shouldn't have favourites, but it is one of my favourite race categories because it's probably because it's where I identify with, because I'm not going to ever make the top spot. But I'd like to think I was competitive enough to go into category 2. Emma's saying I probably should be in category 5 if we had one. So in category 2, our team are the UAE Falcons. They are our team who are always with us. It's Hamden along with El Tanaji and, of course, Hassan Al-Rumethri. Al-Rumethri really suited to these long climbs, but it's going to be up against it because there's some really big names in that race field, Emma.
Yeah, there are indeed 33 riders in category 2 on the start sheets today. And you're right, Matt, it is absolutely packed. Cadiz is in here, Kranich is in here, Ospina, Ruiz, Moreno, Parisi, Gill, Oviedo, Baltazar, Al-Rumethri, and this is an Al-Rumethri course.
Oh, very much so. I think kind of like he probably has his name carved in the stone on the way up the climb. We say this because For example, when we were here last time, it was Aaron Methry. Will he be able to repeat it? Well, let's find out. We are go, go, go in category 2. And this is where Hassan Aaron Methry has to prove he can repeat what he did in those finals. He took the win there by what was only a few seconds from Juan Gil. A real good battle between him, Gil, Ochoa, Ruiz, and Moreno. Spina right in the mix. But these guys know to watch out for Hassan Al-Rametri, and quite often they will try and take the battle to him early and distance him, and he has to make a lot of time back. So I expect this to be a pretty tough start just to try and distance some of the climbers.
Absolutely, and it really is Arametri's climbing ability that is his his prowess, because often, as you say, Matt, he's not the master of a 1 minute effort, but he is absolutely a consummate steady climber, and really shows his pace and his skill and his technical ability on those climbs in this category 2 race pack.
So this category 2 pack already through the half a kilometre mark, fast approaching 3/4 of a K, and that pack holding strong. Fair pace coming out here for 39 kilometres an hour, and just riding in with Carcajal at the moment as they make their way in and through. 161 beats a minute, working pretty hard at the moment. Nice cadence, pedal cadence, that's the revs per minute at 90. Just watching Giuliano, much lower heart rate, much slower pedal revs at the moment. So Giuliano at the moment just trying to make sure he stays in the draft. The rider's numbers in terms of watts will show up as having the green numbers when they are in the draft and having black numbers when they're out of the draft. It's a really key indicator for the riders whether they're in the right position or not, and whether they are saving energy. Just like you find on the track, the road, high-speed mountain bike racing, there is an advantage of hiding behind somebody and staying out of the wind, and that is replicated faithfully when you go on to esports platforms like MyWhoosh, where the games are looking to give you as realistic a performance as possible. Some are more gamified, MyWhoosh very accurate, and it gives you a real-time feel. Having suffered both on MyWhoosh, on and off the wheel of people, and suffered in real life out on the rides recently, I can tell you it certainly feels pretty much the same when you're suffering and when you're on the front and feeling a little bit stronger.
Yeah,
Doesn't
absolutely.
happen often, that bit.
That's it, isn't it? Because it is about suffering, and it is about getting your head down. And, we talked about tactics on MyWhoosh, Matt. And, one of those tactics is knowing what your skill set is and how your skill set compares. And talking about skill set here at the moment, we've got Chris Mano in category 3, who's been caught napping off the back of this pack and is having to put in a big attack now to close the gap here. Dromard is behind him as well. And I wouldn't expect that this early on in this category 3 race, those two riders getting caught out. But this is absolutely hell for leather from Cusimano at the moment, because he's got to close that gap and he's got to get back up to Eckersley and Duke, because the riders are going away and there's riders off the front as well.
And this is really key. So they are coming out. It's just coming to that crossroads at the end of the dip. So you come in, you go through town, you drop down, you climb out to the crossroads. And that climb out is where I think surely we must have seen a problem, because we are seeing people like Cusimano, Dromard, distance from the group. I think they may well have had an issue. And it could be as simple as riding on the bike, dropping the bottle. It could be maybe putting down the gel at the wrong time. Anything like that can have that effect. Now, our riders in category 2 are at 2.3K. They're chasing. They're yet to get to that same point that we're just seen categories 3 and 4 go through. But category number 1 are waiting down in that pen. They are our fastest riders. It is a massive field today, Emma, isn't it?
It is completely and utterly, Matt. So 75 riders and 7 teams in category 1 today. And everybody you would expect to be there is here alongside brand new riders into this category, racing for the first time.
And they're lined up against teams from the UAE Clan team, Italian Gelato, Belgian Waffles, the Donut Give Up team as well. Some of our really strong teams, the UAE Clan team and Belgian Waffles, have traditionally been the strongest teams in this, but the Gelato and Donut Give Up teams have been getting stronger. Donut Give Up with people like Ross Forsyth challenging the team of UAE clan team led by Mr. X at 100. Don't forget, we've got Beast Mode powered by Rose joining us and Hexagon as well. And that Beast Mode squad really are going to be pushing, I suspect, on the way through. They're in with the breakaway cycling team as well. But Beast Mode, not all their riders registered as Beast Mode today, so there could be some interesting alliances.
Oh, absolutely, because David Dunn is the rider registered as the Category 1 riders head off the start pens and on over the bridge and onto the course proper on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. This is qualifier race number 2, and Category 1 are now away. And as you say, Matt, Beast Mode got a number of riders hidden here in the pack. Simon Walter is in here for them, and we've got other riders too, so great to see new riders joining the Category 1 today, but lots of traditional, I call them traditional participants also on start sheets.
Doesn't mean they're
That
wearing
sounded a little bit
alpaca
formal, didn't it?
in dark clothing and riding along. Let's see how they are pushing, and let's see if they are going to be able to hold on at the front against the new challenges. Now, names to watch in this pack. We've got the UAE clan team. So it is a familiar lineup. Mr. X100, Pablo Popovic, Michael Knudsen, Saeed Safrazad, and SS, who work really well as a team. Let's not discount that fact. But we've also got people like Zach Nayo and Noren, Vidal Mayer, Lucas and Nasca for the Gelato squad, Talbot, Van den Eekhout for Jassim, Martins, Van Els for the Belgian Waffles, Ross Forsyth for Donut Give Up alongside Kaminsky, and Diduch, and Michael Plantero as well riding in there for Hexagon, another rider. I mean, great career as an Espoir, as an under-23 rider, taking good positions in the French National Championships, but then turning his attentions to the esports.
Well, and you know, esports, Matt, is where it's at the moment, and it's going to be really interesting to see him on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club and see what he can do here alongside the other new riders today. So really going to be a great race, I think.
Indeed, and just flashing by on our screens a few of our more traditional riders. Let's say Jason Osborne, a rider who's been on this platform for a long time, a Olympic rowing medalist who arrives for the Alpecin team. Absolutely flying at the moment, looking very, very strong.
Well, and a regular on the esports podium, Matt, at the World Championships. Let's not forget that.
Indeed. In fact, it is a bit of a who's who from the World Championships here today, and we're hoping that our riders are going to ride on the championships themselves. Now, we are not party to who's entered yet, who's registered for the registration. If we were, we certainly wouldn't be telling you lot who are watching at home. However, what we can say is already we've had a little note. It's going to be an absolute cracker. The team behind the scenes who are party to who is already registered are already really excited and looking forward to it. We are looking forward to it too, and we want you to register. So please, guys, make sure when you finish watching the racing today, jump onto the YouTube channel and check out how to register with Jeff, who is running through that video for you. It's on the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. Whilst you're there, tick that subscribe button and give it a watch. Now, the Category 1 race looks to be off to a bit of a fast start. Now, a lot of our riders get in touch with myself, Matt Payne, and with Emma as well. And we did have a sneaky word that Category number 1 was going to be fast. Our little insider told us that it could be a bit of a fast start today. And it's looking that way, Emma.
It is indeed. And we've got a number of riders pushing on the front of this Category 1 race field pack. Like you say, a little birdie had mentioned that it was a steady start for Category 1 last week. So absolutely not having any of that today. And you can see on that top right-hand corner of your screen at the moment, the long line of Category 1 riders, because the field is being led out by Philip Graves. Graves is pushing on. Costa's just come up on his wheel. Kaminsky is there as well as Hoyas and Biarhead. You know, Noren is in here too with Talbot and Martins and Nair. So this is a class esports world level race field today, pushing along at the front of this Category 1 race field, and they are moving and they are moving fast.
They are indeed. This is a very, very quick move off from the gun here. And at the moment, you can just see these riders going through the 3K mark. That's the start of segment one. And it won't be long whether we see whether they're going to be coming through faster than category two. The fastest time set at the moment, a 1:28.696. So it was 1:43, 1:35, 1:28. Let's see what our category one riders do. Given that we are seeing attacks and a reformation, a regrouping, might not be actually as quick as you think.
Well, what's really interesting, Matt, is normally with the 5 minute start difference between category two and category one, category two are normally somewhere between 2.5 and 3K down the road. The first 5 minutes of this race in category one today, 3.3 kilometers traveled. So they have gone out with a fast start today.
They have, and let's see if they're going to keep that up. We've got some real big names going past on the right-hand side. We're riding in with Philip Graves, but we've got people like Jason Osborne, Van den Eek out on the side there, Christoph Thiem in there, Stefan Prus as well as the riders who you're going to recognise from being up on the podium, people like Knudsen, Safrazad as well. But we're going to see whether some of the newer names are going to challenge. Remember, all new riders, when they first join MyWhoosh, go into category one, and from there they are then decided where they're going to go. So through the end of the segment, the time to beat a 1:23. Oh, and look at this. Sorry, 1:28. It's a 1:23 this time. So it is 5 seconds only quicker. 5 seconds, you can go a long way in 5 seconds, the speed these guys are going. But it's maybe not as big a gap as we'd expect, Emma.
Well, that's it, isn't it? But Simmons leading the category one pack through in 1:23. And less than a second back to 12th place. So that pack of category one riders, you know what, Matt? 37 riders in that front pack today before we see a 1:28 from Von Harn in category number two.
So that's your leading pack as they go through. You can see at the moment the UAE clan team all hovering around the front. We're seeing plenty of riders from Gelato and very few Belgian muscles just holding in the front. But at the moment, remember, there are no prizes in the segments here today. That is different when we go to the championship because, of course, within the championship, we are going to have not just our overall prize list, not just our stage prize list. We're also going to have our King of the Mountains and our sprints, and our under 23, and our Masters Vet 50. Emma's rolling her eyes thinking, I've got to keep up with all of these every day. And the answer is yes.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be an absolute cracker. Emma and I already busy doing lots of homework through the week. If anybody thinks that we just rock up and talk about the racing, please do come and join us. We can give you lots of jobs that we are very busy with most of the week, trying to work out who's what, where and when, how fast they're going, what the back history is, what the backstory is, and whether we think they're going to win today.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we just say you can find me at Biking Emma on Instagram if you're going to ride the MyWhoosh Championships, if you want to get in touch and have a chat beforehand and give us any interesting information about yourself or your team once your team is put together, please do get in touch.
Yep, at Biking Emma and at Matt Fix the Pain. And don't forget, you can catch up with us at Full Speed Events as well. A number of riders following us at the same time. Now, back to the action.
Yeah, and back to the action here because we have an attack now in this category two race at 8.2 kilometers into this race. We are on one of the rolling sections, an uphill section here at the moment, just shy of 5%, and it is doing its damage on this category two pack. Now, interestingly, 2.5 kilometers behind is indeed that category one bunch, all as a bunch, but this section of road has really stretched this category two group.
And it's that dip and rise. And our riders in category one on the way down into the dip. It dips, it rises, you drop off the other side, and there's another little kicker. And that's where the category two are. Category one, though, going into the dip. You can see that on the profile directly on the right-hand side of the green arrow indicating where the riders are as they go down into that dip at 3.5% at peak. It doesn't sound a huge amount, but you can soon pick up speed, particularly if you're in the pack, and that's why everybody is trying to stay in there and go as fast as possible. Now, category one, left-hand side of your screen. Category number three on the right-hand side of your screen. just going in and underneath those archways as they go through. You can see the distance on the ground, though, between these two groups. Remember, they've got category 2 sandwiched in between, so still a fair distance between categories number 1 and category number 3.
Yeah, but category number 3 are about to come onto the back of category number 4, and that's going to be interesting as they start to weave their way through there. Now, this dip and this rise is causing a stretch now on this group. This group was 37 category 1 riders with some absolute class in here, and you can see just 1 or 2 riders now getting distance off the back of that group as we start to climb. We're only at around 2.6%, but it is climbing now, coming up shy of 3, and a group come together, but 2 riders, I think, distanced off the back of that group.
Indeed, and I think this attrition on the riders is going to take its toll, particularly with this dip and rise. You can see that string coming. Now, if it starts to break in the middle of this group, that's going to be a massive opening for the riders in front. They've got a chance to push on, and they are doing damage. Another group of riders being distanced. Emma, you said how many riders were coming into this together at the end of that segment?
Originally, 37 riders have come in together in one group. We've lost at least 2, and now I can see a couple more riders getting distance from the back. And we've got 1 or 2 riders still with gaps to that.
At the moment, they're trying desperately to get back on. If you've been riding in a group, you'll know the moment you lose contact, once the air gets in between you and the rider in front, that's when you've got to redouble your efforts.
Yeah,
you've got to
treat it like a finish line.
You do, otherwise it is your finish line because it's game over. That's in the front of the group. So let's see how they're going. So category 1 at the moment at 7.5 kilometers, nearly 10k. In fact, 10k covered for category 2, category 3 at 15 kilometers, and category 4 leaders at the moment, they're at 17k nearly. So the gap is coming down between categories 3 and 4. Category 2 making some but not huge inroads into category 3, and category 1, well, the pressure is definitely on, but I think all 4 of our race categories today really mean business. They want to get a marker down, and it's really important as you run into the finals to know how the course rides. Bearing in mind, of course, that when we have 8 days of the championship, 7 days of competition, and we've got our finals coming up just before that, we're going to be using as many courses as we can. We've got some big courses, so knowing the courses is going to help no end.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, Matt. We do have 2 more Sunday race clubs before the MyWhoosh Championships start. And I think anyone thinking about registering for the MyWhoosh Championships, or indeed registering for the MyWhoosh Championships, should indeed get on the Sunday race club. And if you haven't already ridden and raced the Sunday race club, absolutely get on here and see what it is all about, because it will give you a great indication of what the races feel like under your wheels, but it also will give you a great indication of the competition.
Yeah, always vital to know what the others are going to do, who's going to attack, where and when. We've watched a lot of the racing. You can do too. Don't forget, of course, you can pick up with all of the racing on the YouTube channel, and you can catch up on demand with everything that's happened now through the next of our segments. Segment number 2, which is a 2.5 kilometer segment, that bit further, and that's reflected in the time. The fastest time being set by our category 1 riders, and you can see it's very much a who's who of who we would expect at the front, potentially with the exception of the UAE clan team en masse. They're represented by Michael Knudsen, but where's Mr. X100 Said Safrazad, SS Pablo Popovic? We would expect them to be right in the mix at this stage. The pressure is on, so unless they're on the front and came in first and have held position, and these guys have chased back in, very interesting to see. Phil Graves in there, Martin Martins, Van El Simmons, Dan Costa, Knudsen, Marin Al Hamadi in the mix. Big question for me, can UAE clan team get some strength in depth up there fast? They need to be in that group.
Well, talking about who's in that group, Matt, we had 37 riders at the end of segment number 1. At the end of segment number 2, this pack is now 29 riders.
29. So we've seen some riders go. We've not seen that many.
Well, taking a look here, Quintero is one of the riders who hasn't made the pack, and you can see Smythe in there as well, is also one of those riders who got distance. Al Hamadi is one of the riders just skirting the back of this group at the moment with X100, and the rest of the riders you can see there. So 29 riders in this group with Al Hamadi just covering the back.
And Al Hamadi with that blue jersey, he's a rider who took the last sprint, the second of our segments. The green jersey alongside Simmons indicating he was the rider who took the first of the segment jerseys. And it gives you a clear indication of who was riding well at that stage. But remember, they are individual segments. They are not about who's first across the line. They're about who sets the fastest time. So you might be chasing back on to set a very quick time, and the people on the front might be easing off dependent on the action. That's why it's such a great window on what's happening in the race across all of our categories 1, 2, 3, and 4, which are all up on your screen. So category 1, big pack, just short of 30 riders together. Category 2, we've got an attack on. They're well and truly pushing on through. And as you can see on our profile, we are moving into that middle section of the course. All the big hills come at the end. The big height game is at the end of the race route on the way through. But already lots of action in the racing in all of our categories. Category 2 at the moment is looking pretty tough. Just taking a look at category number 1, though, looks like Mr. X100, maybe he was listening in. All of a sudden, the team have decided, let's get to the front and push. This is a really rolling section, and look at this. Phil Graves is off in pursuit here. He doesn't want to let Mr. X100 go anywhere. He knows exactly what damage can be done on this rolling section. He's onto the wheels very fast indeed.
Yeah, so as Phil Graves gets onto the wheel of X100, they're pushing on, and it's Knudsen who's covering this move at the front of the group with Al Hamadi. So Knudsen covering the move, but X100 and Graves being 1, 2, going through segment number 3. And that is indeed that attack that has caused that. So our 1 kilometer segment, 1 minute and 13 seconds. Now that is some fast moving through that segment from X100. So X100, Graves, Van den Eckhout, Al Hamadi, Knudsen, Kaminsky, Vujasin, Costa, Bjarhed, Mayer, Talbot and Simmons rounding out the top 12.
And this is going to be really telling in terms of the actual numbers in this group as well, because that is going to have come down. If it hasn't done already, it will do by the end. But remember, this is a real who's who of esports racing. And just looking at those names up there, I think these riders now know that they have to push in towards that 23.5, 24 kilometer marker where you have the small starter, the entree to the main climb that will take our riders up. Let's see who is going to take it out when they get there. You can just see as these riders coming through. Big effort there by Mr. X100. You can tell that because his watts, he's the only one up in the 400s, in fact 486, and almost double the watts per kilo. He put a big effort in there to go from the back to the front, I think, in that segment, and that's reflected by him setting that fastest time.
Wow.
So the group are in there. It's looking good at the moment.
It is indeed. So still 29 riders, with those 2 riders having gone off the front. The pack was 27, and Zanaska was the rider covering the back and making sure everybody got through. So all back together again now, 29 riders in this Category 1 race field.
So all back together again in Category 1. Category 2 looked to be breaking up quite well on Category 2. I think we've got 2 riders away. 3 and 4 still as frantic. So just taking a look on the right, we just did with Tom Gates, in fact, and it's Gates who has been distanced. This is unusual. So Tom Gates just being distanced by the leaders in there, not setting that same fastest time. The groups in Category 3 and 4 currently separated by 1 kilometer. So Category 3 really starting to push now towards Category number 4. Remember, the riders can benefit from the draft of the other riders in the groups in front. So it really does mix it a bit like you would get in the real world. You can't come up on another group and then just go and expect to not to find the racing affected by it. And that's exactly what happens here. It's exactly the same. The racing affected by the riders around you, and those are those participants and non-participants as well in your category. So going to be really interesting to see what happens when they come together. So the riders out and racing, the riders in Category 1 at 13 kilometers, 14k for Category 2, just short of 19.5 for Category 3 and 20.5 for Category 4. Emma, it's coming together quite quickly, even though we thought it might happen on the climb.
Well, it is coming together quite quickly, and I think that's because Category 2 and Category 1 are absolutely motoring on these flatlands today. And you know, Matt, it was 10 kilometres separating the leaders on the road, Category 4, with the front pack of Category 1. That's now down to 7 kilometres, so it's coming down and coming down quite quickly.
And again, another attack, another counter-attack, another move to try and answer on the front here. Videlmer, Phil Graves going. Looks like Rogerio Costa and Juan Hoyas trying to answer it. These are your two leaders at the moment, Graves and Mel, who are on the front of this group. They're pushing on. You can see Graves really winding up here. We know he's been putting in some big time. And looks like his training is very much paying off at the moment. He's putting them under pressure behind.
Yeah.
This is how to break the climbers. They hate it when it goes fast on the
Well, I'll tell you what, the likes of Knudsen and Safrazad, who we know are consummate climbers, their legs are going to feel this when they hit that climb later. Well, at least 3/4 of the way up. And it is indeed Nair as well, who is in there with Knudsen doing the chasing. As Graves and Mel are the ones who are putting the power down on the front and making things difficult.
And the team mix really is interesting, not just from a point of view of the team competition, but how you put your team together. You need some big engines who can tow on the front. You need your Filippo Gannas, you know, the guys who are going to go there, the Tim Wellens who are going to put in the big power. You need your climbers in there. I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody wants to go and have a Tadej Pogacar on the team who can do basically everything. But you are looking for a mix of riders, because no one person can do absolutely everything.
And we do see that, Matt, you know, when we take a look at the riders and the different riding styles, you know, we've got some fantastic riders in this pack with the most amazing 1-minute power outputs, you know, but we have riders also who their 20-minute power output is not as strong as others, you know, and that's how we see this. We see great time trialers, we see people with great sprint efforts. I mean, look at the likes of Popovic. We've seen him put in an amazing sprint effort, 14 watts per kilo easily to get across the finish line, whereas other riders we know, X100 on the same team, absolutely a consummate time trialer, and sometimes gets dropped off the back of the pack because he doesn't have the top end power to go with them, but he can time trial his way back onto a group
and then go through the group, which we see on summits. Fully expect today to see the 6100 come into the base of the climb. Pure climbers kick clear, but he will then power his way through and end up right up in the mix by the end. And that's what's great about cycling. There's something for everybody, not just because we have 4 categories, but because in each category, different courses feature different profiles of terrain. There are different riders who can benefit at different times. And that's one of the great things I'm really looking forward to when we go into our championship.
Yeah, so looking at 1.7 kilometres now, Matt, between the front of this Category 1 pack and the front of the Category 2 race field. And we can start to see riders getting picked up here. So the pack's now slowly working their way through the back of the race fields who started in front of them.
So these riders starting to work the way in and through at the moment. And at the moment it is Category 1 with the chase. They are the ones who have the work to do if they want to get to the top of our mountain first. Will they be able to do so? 45k the total race distance. We're at a third race distance at the moment, just going over the 15-kilometre marker in Category 1. It is 1.5 kilometres just over for Category 2 at the moment lead. Then 22 kilometres coming up very quickly for Category 3. And Category 4, well, they're heading for 23k. So they're holding that 1 kilometre advantage over Category 3 from Category 4. However, the fastest riders on the road, consistently setting the fastest splits, are Category number 1, the riders on the top left-hand side of your screen in the yellow jersey. So yellow jersey is Category 1, green jersey Category 2, blue jersey Category 3, and the red jersey, that is Category 4. Now, our riders are well on the way through. You can see where we are on that course. We're currently at 15 kilometres in of that 45-kilometre course. It means that we are starting to head in towards that hillier section on the back 2/3 of the course. And as we go through segment number 4, it is our Category 1 riders. A different rider once again, Christoph Thiem this time, who takes away top spot. Any final thoughts before you head off to the women's race, Emma? Based on that, the Belgian waffles all of a sudden look to have woken up. Maybe they've had a sugar rush from eating too many waffles kicking in.
Well, I've been known to do long rides on the continent with waffles in my back pocket, but Thiem, Van den Eckhout, Van Elstvu, Jacin, Meyer, Martins, Zanaska, Bjorklund, Daan, Osborne, Al Hamadi and Talbot rounding out the top 12 there. Now, just taking a quick scroll back through those results to see if we can see how many riders are in that leading group in category 1, and 27 riders I'm going to leave you with, Matt, in that category 1 group. So 27 riders currently clear in category 1, chasing the other riders down the road, and I'm going to have to take a look at the feed after the women's race to see who wins.
Excellent. Well, we're going to let Emma get off and disappear off into the distance. We're going to have to wrap up a notes and head off out of the way. We will be back very shortly in David. The action will continue on your screens, and I'll be taking you through the rest of the action. Don't forget, of course, you can watch all that women's action on the YouTube channel on demand after watching all the men's.
Yeah.
So Emma now on her way hot foot into studio number 2, and she'll be kicking off the women's race. I'm going to take you through the rest of the men's race. My name's Matt Payne. You can get in touch with me. It's at MattFixerPayne on all of the usual platforms, on MyWhoosh as well as on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, you name it. Don't forget, of course, though, we need you to get on to that MyWhoosh page. Get yourself registered. It's mywhoosh.com, and you can follow MyWhoosh on MyWhoosh at Facebook as well as on Instagram. It's my_whoosh on Twitter. Now, you can catch up with our riders every week on the Sunday Race Club in categories 1, 2, 3 and 4. They're on your screens at the moment. Just looking at those packs. Remember, category 4 were the first to start off, and they're still in the overall race lead. They cover the most distance, 24.22k. 23.5 kilometers covered for category 3, 19.5 for category 2, and 18.25 for category 1. I'm going to do some rounding there just to keep numbers simple. Believe me, you don't need me to repeat what you can see on your screens. We want you to just keep your eye on the riders, the race, and see what progress they're making. And what's really informative in this is how those riders are continuing to push the way in and through when they are currently a long way from home. We're still talking 18.5k for these riders covered. That means they're not even at half a race distance. And again, we're seeing another push, another squeeze on Lucas Zanaska this time with Phil Graves with a little bit of a gap. Zanaska, of course, absolutely a world-class rider, a rider who we know in esports cycling is going to be in the mix, regularly been up in the top of the standings as we've worked our way through the Sunday race clubs. But look at the response coming from this group. There is very little ground being given, and this pack are moving fast. We're on a little bit of a climb here, and that's not the speed down, but we're still doing best part of 40 kilometers an hour. It's 25 miles an hour if you do work in Imperial, and most of esports, of course, running in kilometers an hour. And definitely the way to know where you are on the course here on MyWhoosh. The riders at the moment, though, really are pushing here. Just those little bumps coming in now. Category 1 well on the way through. 2, 3 and 4 progressing onwards, and category 4 at the moment are on the climb. So if you remember that course profile, there was a little bump just before the main climb. This is a climb that has the tunnel ascent and descent, and that is where category 3 and 4 are, for further through those tunnels. It's a steep climb, and at the top of the climb there is a very quick transition from the ascent to the descent. So you can just see category 3 on the left of your screen, category 4 on the right hand side of your screen. They are both on the ascent here. There's not a lot of distance separating the two, less than 500 meters at the moment, separating the riders in category 4 lead. They're the leaders in the road with rider number 1, Lorenzo Novello there. Then you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, we're just in with David Milano at the moment. He's in that big pack of riders in category 3. They're chasing. So first group on the road on the right-hand side of your screen, just in front now. This climb continues to the top. We then have a very fast descent off. And if there are gaps in any of these groups, you will find that it will open up very, very quickly. But category 3 are coming, and dependent on where category 3 catch category 4 on this section will depend on how those riders will choose to race it. Category 1 and 2, as you can see on your screens, another little battle here because they are getting closer and closer together. We're seeing 400 plus meters basically from one side of the bridgeway to the other. So at the moment, category 1 at 20.3k. They're coming up on the bridge over the edge of the marina, and then they're going to be dropping over and down back into town. This little bit of a rise again, just taking its toll on the riders' legs. 1 or 2 people feeling that pace, just maybe not responding quickly enough to come through, and knowing how fast to respond and how quick to push on, really, really key when you ride on the platform. Most bikes have the kit that means that it's as fast as possible to be able to respond, but you've got to remember everybody has time. So the time it will take for you to push down on the pedals, for your power meter to register that, and then that to transfer to the game, those fractions of a second, and the differences might not seem much, but they can add up. So knowing how fast your system reacts really, really is critical, and that's why riding on here, knowing where to push into the climb, knowing where to push back, where to ease off, where to take those rests is really key. And that's why the category 1 riders spend so much time riding and racing on the platform, making sure that they get this absolutely dialed. Now Phil Graves just being swamped by the big group as Mr. X at 100 goes over the top at 7 watts per kilo, quickly eases off though. I think he saw that nobody came very quickly. Now Phil Graves doing another counter attack pretty much. He went over the top and then eased off it. They're coming up on the wheels here of Julio Orrego. So Julio is going to be the rider who is going to see that category 1 pack coming up behind. And some really familiar names, people like Kaminsky, as well as Knudsen, Safrazad, Theme, SS, all rolling around the front of the category 1 pack. The fastest riders on the roads at the moment out in Arabia on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. So watching Julio Orrego just pushing onwards here, just trying to stay clear. Currently about 7 seconds off a group of 3 more riders. They're going to be up in front, and if he does get swallowed by this pack, it's not a bad place to be caught if he can keep with them on the next little rise. He's then got a period where he's got a chance to stay in. Remember, of course, when you're riding behind riders, irrespective of what category they're in, you're going to get that draft advantage. So if you're about to get caught, you'll ease off, you'd get a little bit of recovery, get ready to jump, and then try and time it perfectly to get into the group and to use that speed. But remember, if you're a category 1 rider, you're going to be faster. You're going to go flying past that category 2. Category 2 will have to work really hard to stay in there. So watching Orrego, he's picked up the pace here. You can see he's kicked to 5 watts per kilo. He's jumped into the group nicely. And this is where the tactics of riding are really key. If you're aggressive and attack off the front, you get a gap. But you know that you could well find people jumping in with a fast pack behind and trying to catch back up again. And at the moment, Orrego, who currently is sitting about 700 meters behind the leaders in category 2, will be hoping to hitch a lift on the train. That is the category 1 riders on the left of the screen. So category 1 left of the screen, category 2 on the right hand side of the screen. Those are the leaders in each category. In between are a number of riders who are about to get caught, and I think Orrego has really nicely done that move. He sat in with the group, and it's brought him up to the 3 riders in front. Meanwhile, the group in front on the right-hand side of your screen continues to push on, and definitely would affect my tactics riding on this. if I knew that the group behind were able to come up, because I know that I would be able to hold on to the wheels of Category 1 for a certain length of time until it hit a hill. So what I'd be looking to do is try and make sure I was caught on a flat or a fast section where I could make the most of the draft. Here we're on the climb. Knudsen now at 10-11 watts per kilo. So Knudsen's recognized we're coming in to this little bit of a rise. Is he going to try and break clear? This would be some going. He's gone over just over half race distance, 23.3k. Phil Graves is going with him. Now, this is a dangerous duo. You've got Knudsen and Graves. Graves, a past master at racing on MyWhoosh. He's been racing on here pretty much since the start of the Sunday Race Club. He's got Michael Knudsen with him, the man who has taken over Michael Fink's mantle of the rider to be on the platform, and is potentially going to be heading in to the championships that are coming up in prime position as our hot race favourite. But whether or not he can sustain the pace right the way through, it has got to be asked. And I think we're going to see some riders returning, and some really interesting rides. We saw Gibbons here last week. So Ryan Gibbons was riding on the platform last week. This week, he's just been racing in Paris-Roubaix for the UAE team over in the Flanders Fields. So making his way across the pavé and the cobble sections on the Paris-Roubaix. We're not going to give you any spoilers, but make sure you watch both the women's and men's races if you haven't watched them before now, because they are absolute crackers. Now, through the end of our next segment go our riders. So this is coming in through segment number 5. So our riders in through segment number 5. The fastest time by David Talbot. Very quick time, 5:56 for segment 5. Segment 5, a 4-kilometer segment. And in that group, we are now down to 25 individuals, 25 Category 1 riders going through there. So that makes a huge difference to that group. They have gone from 37 to 29 down to 25. So the selection is continuing to be made by the fast pace being set by that group. And if you look down that squad, the two biggest teams, the Clan team and the Waffles team, they're the real hot favourites in terms of teams in there. Now, on to the climb we go, and this is that same climb that we just earlier saw the Category 3 and 4 riders on. 3 and 4 over the top of the summit and down the other side. Category 2 are on their ascent. They're being chased hard by a Category 1, and at the moment you can just see that gap is coming down. In Category 1, it looks like Mayer now starting to be left behind. So Karsten just being distanced at the moment. He's going to have to try and push his way on. Talbot still nicely tucked into Group 1, and this is a really close ride now. This group have got to think about where they get caught, whether they put everything into this climb, knowing that as they go over the top of the climb, they have the potential to be caught by the group behind. It's 500 meters at the moment, separating Category 1 in yellow on the left from Category 2 on the right in the green. This is going to be really interesting now. We are over half race distance. This is the big kicker before we come into towards the finish. We come out of here, we drop down the slopes. We've got another rise out from the dip on the far side. So we basically go up the ramp, we drop down the far side, another little kicker, and then we have a slight bit of respite before we hit the main slopes. Not a lot, and that is going to be very tiring. Meanwhile, category numbers 3 and 4. Well, you were in with 3. They're about to make the catch to the leaders in 4. They're in red in front. It's taken them some time today. We're going to hit the 30k marker, I think, just before we get there. But this group of Category 3 have hauled down the lead. They've pulled it back, and they are going to make contact here. And so the leaders of Category 3 and Category 4 are going to be together as we come in to the final third of this race. So in with Milano in this pack, just watching the catch now. This is when the riders will start to be able to benefit from the draft. You can see 1 or 2 riders just pushing on through this group of Category 4 and The group of Category 4 will now try and stay with Category 3 as long as they can. We're watching Ephraim Mamba at the moment. Mamba, one of our riders in the blue of Category 3, nicely tucked on the front of this group. And I think the Category 4 riders who've managed to stay clear this long have it in their legs to stay a fair bit further. It is a slight ascent here. It's not huge. We're still sub 1%, but it could be taking its toll. Meanwhile, looks like Novello and Ramos at the moment still just about holding clear. They had about 300 meters. So Novello and Ramos continue to push. 500 meters for Novello, and Ramos at about 150 meters on the big group in Category 3. So Category 3 still have the lead technically with Ramos and Novello. However, that Category 3 group are working well to close down Category 4. Meanwhile, Categories 1 and 2, they're on your screen at the moment. The riders working well in with Jason Osborne, the World Tour Continental rider, back with us, getting some miles in, some kilometers in on the platform before we go into our championship. And Jason again looking very strong in here, but Talbot is the man who's on the front. He's really started to wind this up. David Talbot, great results. He's been getting stronger and stronger on the platform, stronger and stronger in the Sunday Race Club. Yeah, I think could well be the case. He's going to get his timing just right, and he's going to be right in the mix when we come in to the end of the month. Remember, this month we have 3 qualifiers. This is number 2 of 3, and the 4th week will be our finals. It's not the last Sunday in the month, because the week after our finals we'll be heading in towards the MyWhoosh Championships. If you've been on the dark side of the moon, you've been out of satellite communication, don't forget that the time is coming up shortly, or you have a little bit of time left to register and to get your registration in. If you want to be racing in the championships, please do make sure you get those in on time. It's going to be a great event. There's some great prize money at stake, and it's going to be a great format. Now, very rarely seen format, a full-on stage race with cumulative time, and our championships being contested across not just the overall time, but the under-23 and the Masters in time. Also, of course, the sprints, as well as the King of the Mountains. And that's in both men's and women's races. It's going to be an absolute cracker. Now, Category 1 over the top. They've just done the first section of descent. It levels off here, but then it will drop again, and they will be chasing even closer to the Category 2. The distance coming down, it won't be long before the riders on the left-hand side of our screens can see the riders on the right. Mr. X100 pushing on at the moment. Now he's got to try and break this. He's got Graves helping once again. Phil Graves really keeping this active at the moment. Michael Knudsen, I think he's loving this very, very aggressive, active racing. Looks like David Dan on his way through. So David Dan trying to push across the gap. A large number of German riders joining us this week. Welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. If you haven't raced before, guys, great to have you on the platform. Great to have you racing and joining in. And let's see if we're going to see that German flag up on the top. Now, these riders continue to push. Looks like nobody being distanced. They've not yet got the group in front in sight. Not going to be long before that happens, but at the moment, the group just attacking and pushing on those uphills. Looks like a little bit of a regroup as we come down here at 4.5% descent. So our camera just dropping back over the back of the riders here with Christoph Thiem at the moment, as we make our way around this long sweeping bed. We won't be long before we drop down back into town. As we go down past the fort on the left hand side here, we're going to go on to this increasing gradient, and just starting to see the dots appear on the top right of our screen of the riders in front. It looks like they've just taken that left hand turn just in front as they come down, and instead of heading out to the beach, taking the left hand turn, keeping the coast on their right hand side. So no heading in to the moss just yet. Going to take that left hand turn. Had the privilege of being out and commentating on the urban BMX and Trials World Championships. That was out in Abu Dhabi, and had the pleasure of seeing some of the fantastic scenery out there. So she's going to be heading back there in 2024. Hopefully going to be out and test the action there as well. At the moment, the riders out. Lots of great action, lots of great racing, and of course lots of it sponsored by MyWhoosh. It's not just the men's and women's elite teams. They're looking after lots of the racing out there, and great to see the support for the racing now. Another attack, and yet again looks like Mr. X100 and Phil Graves, this time Jason Osborne, the pursuer, are looking to go clear. I tell you something, they are really taking the racing to everybody else at the moment. Great to see such aggressive racing, such fast racing, and one that is not going to give these climbers the preparation, that nice smooth running, so that they can unleash their climbing abilities. And they're really making the riders work hard. They're currently at 30k. Remember, once we get over that 31 kilometer, we really are starting to climb, and we'll be joining the teams of the riders who are on the climb. These are the riders in Category 2 who are about to see the leaders of Category 1 come up behind them. And in fact, Category 1 can see that group in front. Category 2, well, we can see those yellow jerseys appearing behind. Now, this is where they think we maybe needed a bigger boat, because that is behind the teeth of Category 1. Jaws behind, coming up behind them. You'll see the time difference coming through as well. Category 2 coming through that segment. Category 1 make the way through as well. But remember, we are coming in to that final climb. Let's take a look at the times as they came through that segment. This is segment number 6. And Bart van den Eyck out leading through Simon Walter in there. Great to see Walter right up in the mix as well. All these riders making the way up there. Yusuf Al Hamadi in there, Mr. X100 in top 12. The leading group of Category 1 riders, now 23 riders strong. And to give you an indication of how fast they were through, the fastest Category 2 rider was 4 minutes 47, a full 30 seconds slower than Category 1, and it shows you just how incredibly quick Category 1 are. And Category 2 will be holding on as long as they can, but we're into our climb. We are on to the ascent. Now, time for the rehearsals are over. The time for the early skirmishes are gone. Now is the time to be able to show that you can walk the walk as well as talk the talk, that you can put the pedal to the metal when it happens, because this is when it's going to count. The riders on the left, your Category 1 already starting to fire riders up the road, looking to go clear. Looks like Phil Graves has gone again. There's no keeping this man down at the moment. He might be stuck in Yorkshire in the grim, cold North Hemisphere winter, but he's not letting it in. He went on the attack, but it looks like he's going to get pulled back in. He's going to have to respond, or he's going to get spat straight back out of the back. He's going to go from hero to zero if he's not careful. He's got to respond to this. It may well be that he just went too hard too soon, or it maybe he's just using it to test out his legs, because the action is moving up the road here. Al Hamadi in a really dangerous place, as is Van Elst at the moment. Mr. X100 doing what we would expect as they come onto the climb, not panicking, watching what the riders are doing in front at the moment. Though you can see Costa looking very strong on the front with Osborne and Talbot. So at the moment on the climb, you can see Talbot leading up here. David Talbot, a real big star when it comes to e-sports cycling. Great riding from him, and showing that he can do it here today. He's on the front. He's been looking good most of the way through. He's got to just keep the pace right here. They want to put the rest under pressure. They want to lose riders off the back, but they don't want to go too deep too soon. It's a long way to go. Remember, we've got 45k in total to do, so another 13 kilometers left for our Category 1 on the left of your screen. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side of your screen, Chehowala is the rider who's gone clear in the Category 3 competition. They are the leaders on the road at the moment. Look at this, Al Hamadi and Van Elst. We said they were in the danger zone. They well and truly are. They're more in danger of being ejected out the back than they are of going through the Top Gun Academy at the moment. This is definitely not going to be, I think they're going to have to put in a really good ride and pace it perfectly to get this gap back. It's 6 seconds at the moment, growing to 7 now, nearly 8-9 seconds. It's increasing as the pace is continued to be applied up at the front. That leading group of riders is whittling down. We do have a segment number 7, on the slopes of the mountain. That is between 27 and 30.5k for segment 6. The segment 7 is 36.5 to 41.5 kilometers. So finishing just 3.5k before our finish up gives a real good indication of who was climbing well. But at the moment, Yusuf Al-Hamani along with Stefan Van Elst are trying to climb back into contention. Big ask at the moment now. Right hand side of your screens, just watching Mr. G at the moment. Part of that category 2 group. He's a little bit further down the slopes. At the moment, it looks like Gil continuing to push up in front with a pack of riders. So definitely starting to break up in all of our categories, from category 4 right through to the top of the tree, category 1. At the moment, the lead is with category 3, but it is going to be snaffled out fairly quickly. David Talbot, nice rhythm from Talbot, 80 revs per minute, working hard, 181 beats per minute. He's holding around about that 6.5 to 7.5 watts per kilo at the moment on this section. Continuing to push. He's on the left of your screen. Che Hoala on the right hand side of the screen. He's pushing well on this climb. Hoala from Germany continuing to try and move his way up. He's got the gap on Staples and Co behind. He's got to keep on pushing to try and stay clear. So Valencia along with Staples, Duque, Kane and Dadson all in the mix. It's a big group behind Hoala on the right of your screen. It's a big group behind Talbot on the left-hand side of your screen. But these riders have decided that they want to set the pace. Who will bring them back? Will they be brought back before we get to the top? We're going to take a look now. Next to our riders, looks like Mendoza and Astorga are going to be the next riders to see the express train. David Talbot goes through. The gap, though, not definitive. The chase being led by Mr. X100 here. He's going to tow back up this group. So it looks like the UAE road captain is doing the business here. He's pulled Talbot back again. He's going to be looking to throw his top climbers up the road. People like Safrazad, Popovic and Knudsen are the established climbers on the team, with Knudsen and Safrazad fighting it out week in, week out when we have a summit finish. I think at the moment, Mr. X100 doing exactly what you'd expect that road captain to do. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. And that's when you want your road captain to really do the work, pull back those attacks, to really marshal the troops into going where you want them. And that's what we're seeing here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Our riders scattered all the way across the slopes of the Jebel Hayes here on the climbs. You can see the riders in category 1 left of your screen, the riders in category 3 on the right hand side of your screen. We're just in with Pega at the moment of the squad in there, nicely working on the right hand side. They currently have just under 1K. It's about 800 meters between this group on the right and the leading group of category 1 on the left of your screen. And the category 1 rider steadily climbing up through the standings. Currently 25th, Lionel Vujasin, the rider who's on the move, leading the category 1 up. It's going to be on Manella's wheel at the moment. So Andrea Montella Manella is going to be the next rider seeing the express train coming past. This time the train driver is going to be Vujasin. He is the rider leading this group up and setting that pace. Mayor, Osborne, Kaminsky, Safrazad, all in the mix. This really is a who's who. I think Kuta probably going to be the next rider to see them coming up on his heels. As Hoyos nicely tucked in this group. So this group still not losing too many riders, just making the way around the riders on the climb. If you've ever been in the position, either of the caught rider or the ascending rider, it's always good when you see somebody on the climb. If you're chasing and passing, it's great for the motivation. If you're being caught, well, if you know that these riders are the elite, the best in the world, do you know what? It's time to take in the view, watch the riders, maybe grab some tips as they go flying past, take a bit of motivation that you two could be up with them. And definitely always, when I was getting caught, spurred me on to get training the following week. And lots of great training plans if you want to be smart. And it's always been said, it's a old adage, but it's definitely true. And the best thing you can do to go faster is to get a coach to follow the training plan. Now, attack on the front side. Safrazad this time, who's gone clear. The gap is back to Jason Osborne, who is climbing up behind him at the moment. So it's Osborne at the moment who's trying to climb back in touch with Safrazad, who's got the gap. They've got Arago about to get sandwiched in between, as is Kaluma. But Safrazad now up into 15th. And is this a very deliberate tactic? I think it is. We have seen Knudsen on the offensive, battling it out with Safrazad in the final stages. We are still some way to go. We've still got over 5 kilometers, and it looks like Hoyos now being left to do the chasing here. So Hoyos now really working hard. Osborne's just gone over the top of him. They are looking to close down. Then it's Knudsen. Knudsen's teammate, though, Safrazad, leading in Category 1. Meanwhile, right-hand side of your screen, you can see the continuing ascent of our Category 3 riders. It's not going to be long before they see these riders. They've got less than 10k to go. We're at 35k. So still early stages for these riders. We are a long way from the summit yet, but we have had a major shuffling. We've had a major sorting out. We are seeing the climbers go on the offensive early and really start to put the rest in trouble. Talbot has gone hard. He has been pulled back. We have seen a number of flurries, but at the moment it's Said Safrazad who has that gap to Osborne, who is closing onto his heels here. So Jason Osborne over the top of Said Safrazad, right hand side of your screen, left hand side of your screen. It's a chasing pack with UAE Clan Team Road Captain, Mr. X100. He's on the left-hand side of the screen. Great action here. Our split screen showing us so much information. You can see the revs between Osborne and Mr. X100 very similar. The heart rate much higher for Osborne than Mr. X100. You can see those watts yo-yoing up and down. The speed is almost identical as well. They are separated by fractions at the moment, but this is where the real action is going to unfold. From here to the finish, we are into just under 10 kilometers. It'll soon be 9k to single digits as we come up here. This chasing group coming back in once again. So power to weight ratio is key. Knowing where to push hard, which gradients are going to benefit you when you push hard, and when you need to ease off. Now, this big group of riders, basically the riders in this group are in here. Now, we've got Che Howeiler off the front. Now, Che, a rider off the front, is putting in a phenomenal ride. He is minutes up the road from this group. And it is worth saying at the moment, it may well be that when we come through the verification process, that there is a fault in the data that is coming through and Che could get pulled back. Either that or he's putting in an absolutely storming ride out of category, but we will see, because of course at the moment on the website, if you go onto the MyWhoosh.com website, you can pick up all of the results. They're currently live. That means the race is ongoing and not everybody is finished. When everybody is finished and the event is shut, they become unofficial, and then they will become verified. When they're verified, they have that blue stamp on them on the website, and then you know that they have been checked out. Everybody has been verified. All those performances have been checked out. Currently, the finals at the end of March are verified. Last week's qualifiers are still in unofficial status, and when we get in and through and all that verification is done, that's when we get our finalized results. So riders on the climb at the moment, coming in to the segment. It is going to kick in now. We're at 36.5 kilometers, and it will run from here to 41.5 kilometers. Mr. X100 leading the charge behind Costa, Knudsen and Co. Two groups just split up on this climb, working well behind the category 2 riders, still chasing, but it's Osborne now on the way through. They've got the category 3, 4 behind as well. In fact, only one rider clear of Osborne on the front, but the battle between Osborne, Hoyos, Safrazad and Knudsen, they're the 5 riders in that leading group. Then you can just see behind The riders for Jassim, 6100 and Nair and Co trying to close that gap down. Real pursuit stuff now coming into one of our key turns. This left-hand turn is one of the key sections. And one of the reasons for that is because of this very quickly fluctuating gradient. You can see it drops to 2.2%. It's down at 2.1. Goes very quickly down to 1.5, but then it kicks steeply as you come around this bend. It's still yo-yoing up and down. The yellow and grey boxes start to turn red again. It then levels a little bit and then kicks once more. And it really does take its toll on the legs. You've got to be able to modulate your power. You've got to be able to respond to the gradient. The turbo trainer, the smart trainer, will grab the back, will basically replicate that harder gradient as you go up. So really going to test the riders as they go up here. This is the group at the moment who are left at the back. Mr. X100 has made contact with Justin, is a little bit further back, but I think Group 2 has caught Group number 1. It has. So they're back together at the front. We've got one or two riders left chasing behind, but it's by no means over. We still have more riders. We have prizes up at the front of the race, and now I think that's Michael Knudsen who's gone over the top. They pull back Osborne and pull back Safrazad. Now I think that is going to be a move by Knudsen. It is. There's a response coming by Osborne. So this is not Knudsen's final kick. We know he can do more power than this, but he is stretching them out. Osborne going into the red, into the yellow at the moment, trying to respond to the move by Michael Knudsen. They are still climbing at pace. Right-hand side is the rider furthest up the hillside. That is Howeiler, but I think Howeiler is going to see these riders very quickly. The pace that they are coming, the fact that they are climbing at a consistent 1.5 to 3 watts per kilo more, so their power to weight ratio is much more, means they are going to be on the heels of Howeiler pretty quickly. You can see that Howeiler with that 15-minute advantage on the riders in category 1. Now starting to see them, and at 56 revs per minute, he's making the most of that gap, but you can see really dropping the revs down, using all the power he's got left out of the saddle. This group, though, they are looking the smoother. They are back together once again. We've got the right, left, a little snick here, and so we make the mountainside. The gradient will kick again. It's up to 7.5% here. It's going to kick steeply again. It is a relatively steady climb to compared to some of those real sawtooth profile courses that we use, to things like the courses in Australia around Mount Pleasant. But it may be relatively steady, but there's still this variation, dropping down to 1.6 right the way up to those 8 and 9% markers. And although it's only for very short periods of time, it's enough to break up the rhythm. So in with Osborne, Hoyos, Costa, Nair, Knudsen, Safrazad, Mr. X100. They are all in this leading group. Michael Kaminsky making contact. Zach Nair nicely tucked in here. They have got to keep pushing, though, because they can't afford to be distanced at this stage. Time running out to come back. We are approaching, well, in fact, we just passed the 7 kilometre to go marker here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Your leaders in category 1 on the left-hand side of your screen. Just taking a look on the right-hand side of your screen, looks like SS for the UAE clan team in company of David Talbot. But Talbot, who was pushing very hard early on, now just being a distance. He's in good company, though. We had the pleasure of riding up with or against. You can decide which one it was. SS out on the courses of Arabia on MyWhoosh, and he went off into the distance pretty quickly the moment he went uphill. Definitely an absolute class at the way he spun away up there and making it look easy. Definitely showed me he was a rider that we knew was going to be in the mix. Meanwhile, you can see the left-hand side of your screen, you've got Knudsen, Kaminsky, Van Dier. In fact, we're going to zoom in on them because I think we're likely to see another attack, another horseshoe turn, another hairpin bend, another big push on the front again. Is this Osborne who's going this time? just on the front, just stretching it out. It's not going to be Osborne. We're just taking a little bit of a look to see who it was. It wasn't Knudsen who went clear on the front there. It may well have been Mr. X100 who's just putting that push in. He's down into 6th place, I think it was. Mr. X100 just on the front there, continuing to push. They are at 39 kilometers nearly, and it is now about 500 meters separating MyWhoosh, who is the rider on the front. In fact, 440 meters is the difference between the riders, and going down rapidly between the leaders in Category 1 and your leader on the road with that 15-minute advantage. Che Howeiler, who's on the right-hand side of your screen at the moment. So here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, we are coming in towards our final 5 kilometers. We're at 39.2k for the leaders in Category 1. This group has been whittled down. It's been broken down by the relentless attacking out on the race route. They are pushing onwards. You can see we're in with Mr. X100. We're on the front of this group. They are trying to close in on the last escapee of the riders who set off at 5, 10, 15 minutes in front, 20 minutes in front. Some of the riders having a massive head start. However, you can see this group are absolutely motoring, and they are trying to close down on Che Howeiler, who's got the gap. Mr. X100 leading this group from MyWhoosh, the line over Jasin Said Safrazad, as well as Rogero Costa. It looks like Osborne still tucked in this group, a real who's who of racing on the Sunday Race Club as they continue to push up this climb. There are gaps back behind, but we are seeing a lot of the big names realistically sat still in here, still not giving it absolutely everything, looking to time it. They will know exactly what they've got left. Most of these riders having raced on this platform on the finish before. They have opened up a gap. We're just taking a look on the right-hand side of our screens at one of our early protagonists. Phil Graves was aggressive all the way through the race, trying to take some of the sting out of those pure climbers' legs. He's on the wheels of Costa Meyer. Meyer with Graves at the moment, but they are well down the slopes behind this leading group of Category 1 riders who are chasing the rider on the right-hand side of your screen. Right-hand side, Che Howeiler at the moment, really trying to hold off the chasers behind. He's got the lead in his category. He's a Category 3 rider. He's in the blue of Category 3. He's the only one of the riders set off in front, still able to stay clear of the riders. The gap is coming down. It's down to what is going to be 280 meters at the moment between the chasing group, the leaders in Category 1. So it's coming down steadily, and at this rate, Howeiler is going to see them within the next kilometre or so as we see another move. Say Safrazad it is this time at 8 watts per kilo, but look at that instant response coming behind. Looks like Jason Osborne it is. It is Osborne in the white helmet coming up onto Safrazad. Safrazad with the multicolour cap and the gold shoes. It is Osborne with the white helmet, white gloves, white shoes with the blue shoes. That is going to be Hoyos who's coming up, but Knudsen who will be coming up. He won't wear a hat. He's got the most aerodynamic head in esports, making his way up on to the shoulders there of Osborne, going over the top of Hoyos. Kaminsky has responded. He's across the gap. Can Vujasin do the same? Here he comes. This is Vujasin joining the back of the group as well. Costa is in here, Hoyos in here, Knudsen in the group. Now, who's going to attack this time round? They're taking it in turns to have a pop at each other at the moment. Well, let's see who has got the power to go down. Each time it backs off, it allows a little bit more respite, a little bit longer before Che Howeiler will see them in his rear view mirror. But each time it backs off, it's also allowing those riders who can't go with that immense fierce kick to come back. Mr. X100, if you remember back to the comments at the start of the show, we talked about the differences in styles of riding, whether you're an explosive climber or whether you are a rider like Mr. X100 who could time trial his way up here but maybe not go with those instant kicks. You can see that Mr. X100 coming back in to this group. He's sitting at that pace, and if that top end explosion is not there, it is more than made up for in the grit and consistent climbing. He's time trialed his way up to this group as another attack goes off the front once again. And another move is going to be Said Safrazad trying to break clear. Osborne responded. Then it is Costa, Hoyos, and Nussen. Look at the numbers of riders going into the red to respond there. The names are lighting up the bars, going in red with the power, the kick down as they push deep into the red zone, really ramping up the power, trying to close the gap down. And Safrazad again closed down by Osborne here. These two are together. So Jason Osborne on the back here, a long-time rider on the platform, as is Said Safrazad. And a year ago we were talking about them racing Michael Vink along with people like Phil Graves. At the moment that's not the case. They've gone clear at the front. They've left Graves Vink on duty for the squad abroad and the international squads, but he will be back, I'm sure, for the championships. Will we see these riders all battling it out? I'm sure we will. I'm really looking forward to putting words to the action there. At the moment, though, this is our Sunday Race Club. This is the decisive moment when the lead on the road is exchanged between the leader on the road. That is our Category 3 rider, Che Howala, who is about to be passed by the fastest riders on the road. And these are the leaders in Category 1, as we see the familiar sight of Mr. X100 bringing back the leaders. They are definitely playing tortoise and the hare. And if you remember the old Aesop's fable, it is the tortoise who wins out in the end because the hares yo-yo the way up, down, up, down, up, down. But it's the smart one who wins, and it could be the same again here now. Here we go. Donut give ups. Michael Kaminsky with the fastest time in that section. He has caught up 8 riders with the fastest times up there. And you can see Che Howala's time disappearing down the standings as those Category 1 riders come in through underneath. Now the latest one through, but look at the gap between Nair's time and Kaminsky's time, 23.487 seconds. Van Diemen putting in a good time as well, but you can see those gaps are big behind, and it looks to me like Vajassin no longer in the mix. So at the moment, Mr. X100, Costa in there. You've got Kaminsky, you've got Hoyos, Osborne, Knudsen, Safrazad, all in the mix. The 7 riders on your screens really are pushing. They're about to drop the rider off the back as Mr. X100 is this time on the front, starts winding it into this turn. Now he's got his teammate on his heels at the moment. Michael Knudsen for the UAE clan team sits on the heels of Mr. X100. Is this a absolutely superb lead out? We are at 42.1k. We're soon going to hit the 2.5k to go marker. We're just inside of 3 at the moment. Now Mr. X100 putting a big dig there. He's going to try and stay in here as long as possible. He's got to recover from that push on the front, and now Knudsen is on the front pushing hard. Michael Knudsen winds up. He's at 9.5 watts per kilo as he goes out into the lead at the moment, and they are now having to fight. Safrazad at 10 watts per kilo. Osborne at 9.5. They've just lit up in red because they are pushing. They are the 2 nearest riders. So it's Knudsen in the lead. It's Osborne in 2. Safrazad in 3. Hoyos in 4. Costa in 5. Kaminsky in 6. Mr. X100 in 7. These are the 7 leading riders. But the gap has opened. And at the moment, we are seeing that familiar position for Mr. X100. He's got to keep his pace and get back. He's still got time. 2.5 kilometers to the finish. 2,500 meters. It's going to be tight, I think, when Knudsen is not breaking this group apart. The days when he could ride away solo, I think, are gone here as we run into our championships, into our finals. People wanting to get into qualifying rides, put down some great rides to showcase what they can do for selection in the championships. Osborne, Safrazad, Kaminsky, Hoyos, all in the mix here with Knudsen. These riders are going to be fighting it out. Knudsen continuing to push. He's got that little bit of a gap on the front. The riders behind are going to get a little bit of assistance sitting in the wheels here. But I'll tell you something, the speed at the moment, 25 kilometers an hour, that is quick. Up here, they are still moving fast. Knudsen, another dig, goes into the yellow. 7 watts per kilo at the moment. He's pushing down here. He does not want to let them get back. He's making them work for every centimetre they claw back. but it's Jason Osborne, the man on the World Tour team, who is coming up on the wheels of Michael Knudsen. Said Safrazad is doing the same here. Hoyos is distanced a little bit, but Hoyos with that blue headband is going to make his way up. So the blue bandana is Hoyos. Meanwhile, Mr. X100 looks like he's going to round the corner. He's going to see 6 riders in front, with the gap now 13 seconds to the leaders at the moment. So it's Mr. X100 on the right-hand side of your screen. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see the front of this group. Knudsen at the moment is being contained by Hoyos, by Safrazad and co. So I think Kaminsky is going to see Mr. X100 right up here at a pace 6.6 watts per kilo from Mr. X100. This is what we see him do time and time again. And it shows you, if you sit at that pace, don't panic. You can close them down. Costa, the next rider in his sights. He knows how far there is to go. It's 1.6k. He's ridden up here plenty of times. Now, the road captain from the UAE road team trying to close down on the leaders. The leaders are Knudsen, the rider with no hat or helmet. You have got Jason Osborne in here. He's the rider with the white helmet and white gloves. You have the rider in the multicolour hat, that is Said Safrazad, and then you've got Juan Hoyos. He's the rider with the blue bandana and the blue gloves at the moment. And it's Hoyos who's now pushing on at the front of this group of 4. So here we go, heading in towards the last kilometre, that last ditch kick. The 4 riders on the front, clear of Costa, clear of Mr. X100, clear of Michael Kaminsky. And at the moment, Knudsen starting to put in a big dig to go with Safrazad on to the back wheel of Hoyos. They make contact on left of your screen. They go through. Hoyos is going to jump in with them. Now, this is attack and counter-attack. It really is chest on wheels. And Knudsen's just lit the screen up in red. So Knudsen putting in a big dig. Hoyos trying to respond here on the left of your screen. Osborne going after Knudsen, but Knudsen has a gap at the moment on the riders Hoyos and on Safrazad. So Michael Knudsen has opened the gap on the left of your screen. As you can see, his number's still in red, but the response is coming on the right-hand side. And still time trialing his way up. He's inside the last gate. It is Mr. X100, but Knudsen and Osborne, they've got a little bit of a gap behind Hoyos. I tell you something, this man's got more comebacks than Elvis. He's on his way onto the heels of the 2 riders in front. Juan Hoyos surely is going to get one of the combativity awards of the day. If we were giving him out, I think mine would be heading in his direction. He has fought back time and time against the riders like Michael Knudsen, against Jason Osborne, riders who are experienced on this platform, and Hoyos is still in the mix. We are coming up to half a kilometre, 500 metres left to go on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. For our leaders, as Knudsen is in the lead here once again. Osborne is sitting on his heels now. This is going to be about momentum. Look at this, Safrazad is not out of this. He's just behind Hoyos here. There's only a matter of a few seconds. Osborne, though, has put in a monumental kick. He's at 15 watts per kilo. Jason Osborne has gone hard here at 15 watts per kilo. His numbers were right up there. He knows where the finish is, and look at the gap. He's opened on Michael Knudsen. He's still kicking on. That gantry is in sight, and at the moment, he's going to be in a different time zone when he gets there, unless he blows his socks completely off. It looks to me like Jason Osborne has done it. Welcome back, Jason. Welcome back to the top step. Jason Osborne, winner of qualifier race number 2. It's going to be Michael Knudsen in 2nd place and Juan Hoyos with a great ride in 3rd. What a finish. Jason Osborne showing sheer World Tour class at the top there. And he's back on the top step now. The battle behind, we saw Safrazad fighting to get in touch. He wanted to be in with that leading group. So at the moment, Safrazad in 4 is going to be the rider who's going to be the next underneath the MyWhoosh finish banner here on the Sunday Race Club. He's going to take 4th place. It's going to be a 5th place for Rogerio Costa. Another great ride by the Brazilian here on the Sunday Race Club. Then it's going to be Mr. X100, who's going to come through in what I think is going to be 6th place. as he comes in and through the line. It's going to be a 7th place for Kaminsky. Fantastic riding here today. We're going to take a look at the standings at the moment, and as you can see, it's Osborne in 1, Knudsen in 2, Hoyos in 3, Safrazad in 4, Costa in 5, Mr. X100 in 6, Michael Kaminsky in 7th. The UAE clan team will wrap up the team standings for today. Remember, the prizes for our individual top 5 riders today. And the riders in the team competitions qualify during the finals. This month it's 3 qualifiers and 1 final. The last weekend, of course, all part of our championship. Now, Pim van Diemen going to be making his way. Good to have Pim van Diemen in here from the Netherlands. He's going to be our next rider coming in to the finish here today. So he's going to come through for an 8th place. It's going to be a 9th place for Zach Nair, the next rider coming up into the finish. The finishing time for our race winner, 1:16.37, as they came in and through. So Nair in 9th place, doing a great job there of sitting in single digits inside the top 10, and it looks really, really good coming in through the finish. Don't forget, you can catch up with all of our race results. They're on the MyWhoosh.com website, from Category 1 right the way through Categories 2, 3 and 4. And the man who's going to head the standing as we finish the live event will be Che Howeiler in Category number 3. Don't forget, of course, those results will then become unofficial and then will eventually be verified on the website. And of course, you can catch up with all the racing on the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. Make sure you register for the championship. And of course, go back, get to the start of the women's race. I'm going to hot-foot it over to the studio with Emma. My name's been Matt Payne. It will be next week, if I can survive a week of prep ready for our championships. There's going to be lots of great action on the way in there. So from me, Matt Payne, from Emma, from all of the team behind the scenes who make it all happen, stay safe. We'll see you again soon. Hopefully see you in the women's race. Bye-bye.